Hello everyone, I'm Paula Brehm-Heeger, the Eva Jane Romaine Coombe Library Director, and this is our 2021 State of the Library. 2020 has been a year like no other in my lifetime. If we could go back a year and tell our February 2020 selves about what to expect in the coming months of 2020, I honestly do not think we would believe ourselves. And because it was the kind of year that it was, I'd like to start today by asking you to join me in a moment of silence and reflection for those difficulties of this past year, for those who have been lost to COVID or lost loved ones to the disease, those who have experienced medical hardships as a result of the illness, for George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and all who have felt the trauma of our nation's racial strife, and for a year of upheaval, isolation, and frankly, stress for us all. Thank you. Now, usually at the State of the Library, we kick things off with a review of our accomplishments. And as usual, this year we do have many. But to me, though there are many great accomplishments for 2020, there is nothing that can compare to how we came together to serve our community, and together we serve the community well, while tackling the personal and professional challenges of a lifetime, really of a generation. And again, I thank you for that. As I mentioned in a recent weekly video, I was struck by the comment of a library leader who recently said that the libraries we closed in March are not the libraries we are reopening now. The world has changed and our industry has changed. Some changes may have been on the horizon before the pandemic, others accelerated, and yet others unexpected entirely. An obvious example to me is the acceleration of the adoption of streaming services for movies and TV. And that is obviously something that many in our public have done, but it is the distributors and their embracing of this new model that is most surprising. I think we all knew that the days of physical media were beginning to wind down most likely, but the pandemic has put an accelerant on that. Who would have predicted that in the space of 1 year, major blockbuster movies would be released in theaters and on streaming the same day? I can remember when distributors used to fight tooth and nail to embargo movies from Redbox for weeks and months. It's really kind of stunning. Thanks to the time and talents that you have all given, we are, again, a 5-star library. We are still an award-winning and well-known on a state and national level. And we are on the precipice of great potential for sustainable dynamic change to lead our communities into a brighter, bolder, more inclusive future. But it will be different, and we will have to move forward in the face of challenges, both those that we know now and some that are unknown to us today, and yes, in the face of imperfections. It can be overwhelming, it could be anxiety-inducing. I acknowledge that and certainly feel it myself. But believe me when I say that I'm confident we can solve our challenges and can find alignment. We can be true to our vision and our mission, and we can do this together. You have done a great job this year, and again, that is deeply appreciated. If you're interested in the quantifications of your achievements, the slide that you're looking at right now is from our recently released annual report. It gives numbers and highlights of 2020. But those numbers certainly do not tell the full story of last year. What we've been doing and contributing is bigger than these statistics, as impressive as these statistics are. I've dedicated my entire adult life to public libraries. When systems of government are questioned, when agencies in our lives struggle to fulfill the promise of their mission and thus lose the trust of their constituents, public libraries, our public libraries, are heroes. For example, last year we began planning for how we might continue what has been a long traditional service we'd offered in tax preparation. While we've provided this service for many years, this year we added new partner organizations and library locations to the effort. Please just take a brief pause to reflect on the fact that we're doing this for many reasons, but not the least of which is that this essential service cannot be provided by many institutions that had offered it in previous years because of their constraints and difficulties in operating in a pandemic. Their spaces are too small. They don't have PPE. They are staffed solely by volunteers. So the library has stepped up with compassionate, effective, and welcoming service to those who otherwise wouldn't have any place to turn. Looking back on the year, we have experienced as a country and really as a world, compassion can feel in short supply, but it is more necessary than ever. I do hope that you all understand how valuable your ability to deliver service with compassion and grace is for so many. I hear from them all the time. Small acts of kindness make a tremendous difference. Recently, I was on a Zoom meeting with Representative Cindy Abrams, one of the elected officials who we've worked with in the past and has been named to a position of leadership at the state level. I, along with Jay, the government relations staffer from OLC, offered lots of useful examples of how our library had been working so hard to serve the community during this challenging time. It was a very effective and useful conversation. But at the end, as we were signing off, our library's government relations coordinator, Elaine Fay, took a moment to ask Representative Abrams about her kids, which colleges they had decided to attend, and how they were doing overall. That one question was such an important element to the interaction, and Elaine's caring and compassion really opened things up for further discussion and sharing. All the business in the world can't substitute for that kind of caring, especially this year. Now, as we look forward to next year, there are many things on our to-do list. To achieve these, it will require more than a prescriptive approach. We will be at our best when we have alignment that allows us to ignite our contributions through common ground approaches that answer pressing questions about community needs and create a shared vision. I just want to digress for a quick moment here, so please bear with me. Sometimes I tell the story I'm about to share to illustrate my point. I first attempted to learn some higher math in high school because I have a good memory by simply using my memory as a crutch. And instead of learning the processes around the difficult calculations, I honestly made it through high school higher math by literally memorizing all of the example problems. And when faced with a problem I couldn't solve, using my memory to identify a problem that fit a pattern of the math problem I was facing. It worked well enough until I got to college, and that's where I quickly realized if you don't understand and engage in the process, with the learning, with internalizing the concepts and working to innovate and solve them, and really understand them, you're sunk. And so I think about this when we face questions and opportunities for innovations in the coming year and beyond. Questions like, what does it mean to be a next generation library? How might we make the main library revitalized so it's a destination for the entire county and it fits with the overall vision of our city? How might we activate the outdoor areas here at Maine and in other locations to maximize the joy and use for our communities and our public? In order to answer these difficult and challenging important questions, we have to understand the processes and the variables and think through them, not just recognize a past pattern or an example that fits. Think of those who innovated around us this year, who faced challenges and solved for fixes by asking, how might we do this? I think of Colony Parks at West End, who tackled the challenge of how might we build capacity for technology access during a pandemic? Of Stacy Dennison, who built on Key's ideas to answer the question of how might we fund that technology access quickly and effectively? Of David Siders, who worked with partners to determine how might we increase access to COVID-19 testing? Of the children's librarians, about whom I've received compliments from community members, folks like Mandy Beecroft, and about who I've received compliments from partners, folks like Taya Harlan, who worked with CPS, and all of the children's and teen folks who solve for the question, how might we engage young people virtually? Of Eric Pennington, who grabbed a Ziploc bag to figure out how might we help a desperate customer to download an app to his phone without touching his device? Of Elmwood Place staff who ask, how might we distribute foods and snacks even when our location isn't large enough to accommodate people in building during a pandemic? Of Corey Gibson and all of the folks in Tech Center who ask, how might we help individuals seeking eviction assistance when so many of the resources are difficult to reach and the folks providing those resources are not available for appointments by a phone? Of Chris Rice and his team who ask, how might we offer library swag to our staff in a way that is easy and simple and immediate? Of Keith Armour, who addressed the question of how might we provide one-on-one assistance with technology in person and socially distanced, and of the tech people who helped make that possible. And I think of the facility staff who very early on in the pandemic helped make possible our ability to open book drops during the closure by asking, how might we do this? Really, this list could go on, and I'm sure you have your own list. In looking ahead to 2020, maintaining our direction on major initiatives is important. In the direction alignment commitment model, which I've talked about several times at past addresses and in videos, we have worked for the past 2 years in setting that direction. It's not complete, but we do have major projects, such as our facilities master plan, where we've invested resources, engaged with staff and our community to craft a direction, a vision that has practical and concrete steps that we are now activating. The next element in the DAC model is reaching alignment, helping ourselves and our teams to build community, understanding, and appreciation for that direction so that it is robust and sustainable. Another major area in which we are embarking to build alignment is diversity, equity, and inclusion. We are working to set a direction and will again be challenging ourselves and our organization to align around that direction. I and all of the senior leadership team look forward to this effort, but also realize it will be challenging to build an adequate infrastructure around equity. We certainly cannot reach our overall vision of excellence without inclusion. So work like our FMP will fall flat if we do not engage openly and honestly in the DEI work ahead of us. And now I'd like to introduce you to Jennifer Ingram, who will introduce herself and also give a little bit of background about the work she'll be doing in the coming year around our important DEI initiative.
Hello, my name is Jennifer Ingram, founder and CEO of Calibrated Lens. I'm so thrilled to be able to share an update with you all on our work with the Cincinnati Public Library System. We've been a part of the work with Design Impact and listening in to better understand the experiences of BIPOC staff within the library system. We'll be kicking off next month the next phase of this work, which includes a racial equity assessment and diagnostic. This assessment will be a comprehensive evaluation of the library's policies, practices, and procedures, taking it a step deeper to identify both qualitative and quantitative data informed by the findings from the earlier listening sessions that took place with both the community as well as segments of the staff within the library. We'll build on existing work that's currently underway to better understand where the library has an opportunity to integrate tenets of diversity, equity, inclusion, as well as racial equity into the various policies, practices, and procedures. This will take approximately 3 to 6 months in its entirety for us to complete. We promise to offer transparency, integration, and sustainable maturation to ensure that this work continues beyond us completing the assessment. As a result, you all will receive a set of recommendations across various policy areas, practices, and procedures. The assessment will include 5 phases, the first being an environmental scan, a policy document evaluation and internal infrastructure review, leadership engagement to better understand how leaders are engaging and understanding concepts of racial equity, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and how it's embedded in various processes and procedures. We'll engage employees at some point in segments of your workforce to better understand where there are the greatest opportunities to, again, integrate this work at the employee level. And last but not least, an external analysis. We look forward to getting started in the coming weeks And I look forward to continuing to engage with each of you on a more individualized basis throughout the course of our assessment. Thank you.
Those are but some examples of what 2021 will hold. Though, if we learned anything in 2020, it is that the world can change very rapidly. We do have tools to anchor us as we move forward into what is an exciting year, but a year that will require us to be open to changing our perspective and how we serve our community, just as 2020 did. We have new important tools, including our 4 brand beliefs to anchor us individually and as an organization. Those brand beliefs will be reflected in our next generation library planning, and they are empathy, enjoyment, connection, community, and they will have a DEI thread throughout. So how might this translate? Recently, I had occasion to talk with Melanie Huggins, who is the director of the Richland Public Library in South Carolina. She's also the president-elect of the Public Library Association. She shared the work that she and her team had done in re-envisioning their main library. Now, while Richland is a smaller library system than us, we do share some structural similarities. They have a main library that is, like ours, relatively speaking, quite large compared to their branches and accounts for nearly 50% maybe of their overall square footage. They reimagined and remodeled that 250,000 square foot building to include things like multiple maker spaces, multiple places to collaborate and share, places to support customized services like a small business center, and service designed for workforce and entrepreneurial support. We have several upcoming engagement sessions that will update staff and community members on important maintenance efforts around Main Library, and will also include opportunities to learn more about how we can support our community as we emerge from the pandemic year. Working together, we can create a new vision for our library that harnesses the power of collaborative information sharing and gathering, the joy of space for creativity, and ability to share a sense of community through a library experience. We continue to realize alignment around our 4 identified organizational priorities: investing in staff, building the next generation library, connecting community members to resources and materials, and providing tech access and support to our community. This slide offers a review of those, and I just want to briefly touch on a few examples. Investing in staff, of course, we have the compensation review, our DEI initiative, some other things that we continue, our OLC membership reimbursement. If you wouldn't join OLC, you can find out information, the specifics around that. The PTO structure changes, professional development, including investigation of an option that is available at the state level for reimbursing us in the area of technology training called the Tech Cred program. We also adjusted to $15 an hour for our starting pay for public service folks, ensuring that direct public service are at that higher level and combined, as well as indexing others who were in the previous 2 different grades. Now we'll go over to Kyla Harden, our Human Resources Director. On to you, Kyla.
Thanks, Paula. Hi, everyone, and again, I'm Kyla Harden, your HR Director. The State of the Library is an event that I have very much enjoyed in the past years, and I am so looking forward to being together and in person in the years to come. And though we aren't able to be together today, today is a day to celebrate you all and the remarkable work that you do on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis that all add up to a year to be really proud of as an organization. And I'm really proud to work with and for such a caring, creative, and kind staff. Thank you for staying strong through 2020 and continuing to do great things for those around you and in our communities. This is also a time that we look ahead to the upcoming months of this new year. And one thing that I have incredible excitement around is investing in staff. And one key piece of investing in staff is the 2021 compensation review. We, as your human resources team, are driven every day to bring people to our library team who share our talented staff's passion for service, passion for collaboration, and passion for innovating. Our role here in HR is to support you all, the people who are carrying out the amazing goals and mission of the library on a daily basis and creating memories and opportunities for others. Every single person in this organization is working to bring enjoyment, connection, and so often vital resources to the people we serve who may not otherwise have access. The stories we hear about how you have impacted lives are why we in the support departments do what we do. What brought me to the library and has kept me here, and my team would echo this as well, is a love for supporting people who care so much about others and who make such a significant impact on the lives of those in our community. To that end, as a part of attracting, retaining, and supporting our incredible staff, we want to ensure that we have a strong total rewards package, which includes salaries, health benefits, retirement, time off such as PTO, sick time, and holidays, and educational and professional development opportunities. Though compensation is only one component of total rewards, it is, of course, a very important one. Our overarching goal through this compensation review is to ensure that staff are being paid equitably across the system and that job descriptions are up to date and reflect what we do. Though I can't predict what the compensation review will determine, I can give you some general expectations of potential outcomes. The first is around job descriptions. Based on input and feedback from the job description questionnaires that all staff are being asked to complete this week and next, you can expect that there may be revisions to your current job description to better reflect the work that you are doing in your current role. You can also expect the format of how the job descriptions are laid out and sequenced may change. Another potential outcome is an expectation that our current salary and classification structures may change. We have a goal of raising the entry-level pay in the salary structure and aligning positions in the classification structure with positions that have similar scope and responsibilities. And finally, we can expect to have a compensation philosophy that provides vision, guidance, and transparency around our pay practices. This will keep the organization on a path that is consistent and equitable in the years ahead. Before I turn this back over, I just want to also emphasize that every person here at the library has worked so hard and in different but all very important ways played a part in bettering the lives of those in our community during a very tough time. While we still face challenges brought on by the pandemic, I'm energized to see what we can accomplish together in a year ahead that looks brighter. Thank you all for coming together, working as a team, and for what I know is going to be a great 2021. Thanks, everyone.
For building the next generation library, we have Price Hill set to open in the not too distant future. Deer Park will also open this year. Walnut Hills is in the process of being renovated, and in addition there, we have also got things going on Madisonville, where we've signed a lease recently. And Forest Park is another community that we're talking to about the possibilities, as well as the main library. We have done other work, branch refreshes, 4 in 2020. We'll have 4 more in 2021 planned. We also added a drive-through to Anderson and do intend to add additional drive-throughs as we can. Connecting community members to resources and materials, always an important thing. We have things like the Winter Checkout Challenge. We did summer learning last year, even though we had to pivot and do it a little bit differently. Workforce development, eviction prevention resources, census resources, voting information, and unemployment support. And always providing tech access and support to our community. With many of our CARES dollars, we were able to order, and we will be installing additional laptop kiosks. We are active at a state and national level around broadband advocacy so that everyone can have effective technology access from home. We have an IMLS grant, a very large one, with the Cincinnati Museum Center that will partially fund a new position that will be a community technology liaison to support so many organizations in our community that need access to that technology in a way they hadn't previously. And of course, keeping our doors open to those without devices or internet access so they could have that essential service. And now Molly DeFosse, our Chief Finance and Facilities Officer, will give us some additional updates.
Hi, I'm Molly DeFosse, the Chief Finance and Facilities Officer. I'm excited to share with you today that we are entering 2021 on a solid financial foundation. Our revenue resources remain consistent over the last several years. The total funding from the Public Library Fund is expected to be 52% of our total funding for 2021, and a combined levy revenue is 46%, with the remaining 2% from other sources such as interest earnings and fees for services. For 2021, the levy funding is considered fairly stable. The PLF outlook as of the beginning of the year is positive. The previously anticipated decreases have not materialized because the impacts to tax collections at the state level have been minimal, and the funding formula has remained consistent. 2021 is a biennium budget year at the state level, and the funding formula for the PLF is always reviewed as a part of this process. Other shortfalls at the state could impact the funding effective July 1st, 2021. Elaine Fay will continue her good work in the government relations area to make sure our elected officials are aware of the impact we have in the community. Also, with our relationship with the Ohio Library Council, we will work to stay current with the progress and communication related to budget development. If you are interested in more detailed information on the 2021 budget, I recently recorded a video which was published on January 15th. Thanks again for all you do, and I'm looking forward to a hopeful and healthy new year.
And now Elaine Fay, our Government Relations Coordinator, will offer some insights into how she works with our state legislators and decision makers.
Hi, I'm Elaine Fay, and I'm the Government Relations Coordinator for the library. Because of all your hard work, our library offers a number of services and resources that elected officials from all political parties respond to positively, like workforce development, early literacy and lifelong learning, technology and internet access, and much more. It's also good for us to provide examples of us being good stewards of taxpayer dollars through our partnerships with outside organizations, which allow us to support the community in ways that we might not be able to otherwise. When State Representative Catherine Ingram visited the main library this past summer, a staff member from Cincinnati Works joined us to talk about the many projects our organizations have partnered on over the last several years, including the job coaching Cincinnati Works provided to main library customers in the tech center prior to the pandemic, and our hosting them at the main library 2 days a week to assist with their need for more space to meet with their members during the pandemic. Elected officials also like to hear about the support we provide to small business owners through use of our makerspace equipment, programs on grants and assistance from the Grants Resource Librarian, Wi-Fi and computer access, a quiet space to meet with potential investors, and so much more. Early last year and prior to the pandemic, we hosted a breakfast for our state legislators that we had catered by a local Black-owned business, Magnificent Morsels. This was a perfect segue for us to talk to legislators about our services and resources for small business owners and sharing the caterer's story about the many ways she uses the library for her business. Elected officials also enjoy visiting our Storytime programs and seeing how we engage preschoolers and their parents with activities that build literacy skills. When we host Senator Cecil Thomas for his visits, he likes to join the Storytime program at Avondale, which has been his neighborhood branch for over 30 years. At his last visit, he was very interested in the laptop kiosks at the branch and was excited to learn that we have resources that give low-income families access to technology. Having these stories that illustrate the vital work that you do is important to have at any time, but especially right now as the state budget process is currently underway and library funding is a part of that budget. Please be sure to use the form on Rufus to share your customer stories with me regularly so that we can continue giving our state legislators concrete examples of why we're so important to their constituents and the community. Thank you for all you do and for helping us keep elected officials informed about the many ways we serve the community.
This past year, we made many difficult decisions, some early on, as we realized that the pandemic was likely not to be a short-lived problem. We balanced needs of multiple groups and unknown variables, such as budgets, to continue to support our community, and we move forward with the FMP, even in the face of the pandemic. It's amazing to me now that we have accomplished together so much. I think of Kathy Taylor and Justice Rampa when they first started the work around the pandemic planning and the recovery and return to service. It's just amazing. And hopefully, when we return to a less pandemic world, we'll be able to look back and appreciate all of that work in a new and different way. I look forward to building the future with you, and in the coming weeks and months, we'll continue to work with local health officials and the Ohio Library Council to advocate for library staff to be prioritized appropriately for being a group to receive a vaccine in recognition of the important work you do in helping our communities cope and will do as we continue the recovery process from these challenging times. Thank you, and here on the slide you see that is Mouse, my youngest kitten, who experienced the closure during the spring with me. He's sitting there on my printer giving me a lot of help. Thank you again, and it's going to be a really interesting 2021. I appreciate everything you've done in 2020.